Good morning, Year 4. I hope you're well and welcome to today's geography lesson. In today's lesson, we are going to be finding out what plants we might find in the rainforest. And by the end of this lesson, to be successful, you will be able to identify a variety of plants that are found in the rainforest, and you will be able to explain how plants are adapted to be able to survive in the rainforest. Now, I've got some retrieval for you first of all, and the first question is, what does the word fauna mean? And this is a word that we learned in our last geography lesson, and here is a picture to remind you what the word fauna means. And then I would like you to name 3 different species of animals that are found in the rainforest. So thinking back to last week's geography lesson, what 3 animals can you remember that are found in the rainforest? So pause the video now and have a go at these questions. I believe they are in your resource pack, so you can pause the video now and head to your resource pack and write the answers underneath, please. Off you go. Okay, how did you do? Did you use the picture above to find out what the word fauna meant? Well done. So the word fauna means the animals of a particular region or habitat. So we could say that there are different species of fauna in the rainforest. Now, thinking of the different species that are found in the rainforest, you could have had any from piranha, monkey, anaconda, toucan, caiman, jaguar, sloth, patoo, red-eyed tree frog and the scarlet macaw. All of these we learnt last lesson, and some of them we also learnt in our book The Explorer that we've been reading in our reading sessions. So well done if you remember both of those. Now I have got another vocabulary word that I'm going to introduce you to today. This word is called flora, and the definition is the plant life that's present in a particular region. So we could use this word flora by saying the canopy layer of the rainforest is home to a diverse range of flora and fauna. Do you know what that means? That's right, it means that the canopy layer of the rainforest, so the second from the top layer, that layer with lots and lots of trees, has a huge range of flowers and animals, so the flora and fauna. And this word flora is really interesting because the word flora means flower in Latin. And also Flora was the Roman goddess of spring and flowering plants. And that's where we get this word flora from. And you can see here from the images, there's lots of beautiful flowers. And today we are going to be looking at the different species of, the different types of flowers that we could find in the rainforest. But to start off, we need to understand that there's actually lots and lots of species of plants and animals. Well, if you look at this map of the world, you can see in green, that is where the tropical rainforests are. Now, of the whole planet, the tropical rainforests only cover less than 2% of the planet. That is not a lot of room for tropical rainforests in the world. But amazingly, they are home to over 50% of all the plants and animal species on Earth. Wow. So that means over half of all the plants and animals live in the tropical rainforest, even though it only covers less than 2% of the planet. My goodness, that is a lot of plants and animals in one place. And today we're going to find out what some of those plants are that are home to a tropical rainforest. But first, we need to understand, well, plants actually have lots and lots of adaptations that help them to survive in the rainforest. And one thing that a lot of plants have are drip tips. Now, have you heard of drip tips before? Maybe you haven't, but let me tell you what they are. So we can see in this picture the drip tips here. You can see that the water comes off the plant because of the way that their leaves are formed. And lots of leaves in the tropical rainforest have pointy tips. And you can see here that their pointy tips are here. And this allows the water to run off the leaves, like so in this picture here, really quickly without damaging or breaking them. Because we know that in the rainforest, it rains a lot of the time. And if the leaves kept getting rained on and there was nowhere for the water to go, come off the leaves and the plants, then the leaves could get really damaged. So they have to have drip tips because that means that the water can fall off the tip really easily without causing any damage. And that helps the plants to survive that little bit longer with the conditions of the rainforest. Not only that, but the leaves on the plants are also arranged at different angles. So you can see here that the leaves are not crossing over, they're arranged at this different angle. And this helps block the sunlight. So it means that they can each get an equal amount of sunlight. Because if the leaves are overlapping, then this part of the leaf isn't getting as much sunlight. And we know that plants need sunlight to survive. And we know that in the rainforest there's different layers, isn't there? So on the forest floor there's really not a lot of sunlight at all. So there's a lot of competition for the little light that's available in the rainforest. So these plants have to adapt to these conditions. So one way is that they have drip tips, the water comes off, and the second way is that they have leaves that face in different directions, okay? So the next thing that a lot of plants have that helps them to survive is something called buttress roots. Now these are wide, large roots on all the sides of a rooted tree which is shallowly rooted. So if there's a tree in the rainforest and it's not actually rooted far under the ground, they will have what they call buttress roots, and you can see some here, that the actual tree is here, but then they have these buttress roots coming from the sides of them, and that just helps it stop from falling over. Because you'll learn today that the trees in the rainforest are really, really skinny, they're very slim. Now, if they're really slim, they've got a high chance of falling over, especially because they're quite tall too. So if they have buttress roots, this helps the tree to be stable and stop it from falling over. So that's another adaptation that many trees have. Something else that we've learnt from our reading sessions are these lots and lots of trees have lianas. Now, lianas are a type of vine found throughout the tropical rainforest, and they have thick, woody stems like in this picture here. And they can come in various lengths and shapes. So some of them might be long lianas, some of them might be short, some of them might be thin, some of them might be fat. And what happens is they begin their life on the forest floor, like here and like here. But does the forest floor get much light? No. So what they do is they depend on the trees for support. So lianas will climb, they don't have legs, but they will grow up the trees because then they can get more sunlight. The further up the tree they go, the more sunlight they can get, and then they can survive. So lots and lots of this is another way that plants can adapt, because some lianas, this type of plant, can grow up towards the tallest part of the tree to get more sunlight for survival. So far then, let's recap. We've learned 3 things that plants have done to adapt to the life of the rainforest. Can you remember the first thing? That's right, plants have drip tips. What were the drip tips for? That's right, so then water could slip off the leaf without damaging them. And what else happened to the leaves? That's right, they were grown in different directions because then they wouldn't block the sunlight for each other. What was the second thing we learnt? That's right, we learned about the buttress roots. What were they? Yes, they were the roots that came from the tree to help the tree to be stable and to stay up. And finally, we have the lianas that help the tree and they grow up the tree to be able to reach the sunlight to survive. Another way that plants have adapted to rainforest light is some of the plants have epiphytes on them. Now this epiphyte is a plant that lives on the branches of the trees, especially high up in the canopy. And they look a bit like this or this. So you can see the tree and then you can see the epiphytes on the side of them. And they grow really high up in the canopy because they get their nutrients. They can survive from the air and from the water, from the rain. And they don't need the soil. And that's how they've adapted over time. They just don't need the soil, and they can just use the air and the water to be able to survive. And that's another adaptation that some plants have. Some plants have epiphytes on them, and that helps them to survive too because they have that nutrients from the air and the water. And another way that plants can survive is by the size of their tree trunks. Now, tree trunks in a tropical rainforest we spoke about earlier, they are tall and they are thin. Now, this allows the trees to reach the sunlight high up in the canopy and even maybe the emergent layer too. But we know, don't we, that with these tall and thin tree trunks, they are very unstable. So what do they need at the bottom of the tree trunks? The buttress roots. Well done, to stop them from falling over. Super job. Now with the tree trunks also comes the bark. Now the bark in a tropical rainforest is quite different to how it is in the UK. So if you went outside now and you saw a tree, you would realise that the tree has thick bark. And this is to stop any moisture from being lost. However, in a tropical rainforest, the trees have thin, smooth bark. Now, rainforest plants don't need thick bark because there's so much rain, so they constantly get moisture. But because in the tropical rainforest the bark is thin and smooth, this helps the water to flow down easier to the roots. It also makes it harder for other plants to grow on the tree surfaces, because these other plants that could grow on the trees could steal the light or the food from the tree when the tree needs it to grow too, and to make sure that it's staying alive basically. Okay, so those are some of our main adaptations that all plants would have at least 2 or 3 of these adaptations in a tropical rainforest. I wonder if, I'm just going to go back, you can remember any of the adaptations. So we've looked at quite a few now. Can you remember any of them? Can you get a piece of paper and write down as many adaptations as you can remember? So pause the video here, write them down on a piece of paper, okay? Off you go. Okay, how many did you remember? I'm going to have a go and see if I can remember some of them. And now you can test me as well as test yourself. So give yourself a tick if you got these adaptations correct. Did you remember that lots and lots of plants have drip tips as their leaves? Did you remember that lots and lots of trees have buttress roots? Did you remember that lianas grow throughout the tropical rainforest and they grow up the side of trees to be able to reach the sunlight? Did you remember that the tree trunks were thin and tall so that they could reach the sunlight? Did you remember that there was lots of bark but it was smooth so the rain could slip down easier to go to the roots, but also so the plants and animals couldn't, well mainly the animals, couldn't climb up to get the food or steal the sunlight from the trees? Did you remember that sometimes plants or trees have epiphytes on them, and they grow higher up in the canopy to be able to get their nutrients from the air and the water rather than the soil? Did you remember all of those adaptations? Fantastic. Did I miss any out? Maybe I did. I don't think I did, but you know more than me now, so you can even teach me. Okay, we are going to look now at some of the plants that are found in tropical rainforests. One of these plants is the banana plant. Now, this is a plant that's really common in lots and lots of tropical rainforest. And bananas, did you know, they are giant herbs, and they start off looking like this, and then they grow, and then they form a banana like this. And the trees that a banana plant or that bananas grow on can grow up to 20 feet high, almost as high as the emergent layer in the tropical rainforest. Wow, so the banana plant, where do you think we might find the banana plant? Can you think of any countries or continents? Shall we have a look? So the banana plant is found in Central America over here, South America over here, Africa and Southeast Asia. Also in non-tropical areas such as the USA. So definitely the Amazon rainforest would find the banana plant. Now, I'm going to talk you through some more plants that we can find in the tropical rainforest, and then I'm going to tell you your task for today. But I need you to go over to part 2 now and find the video for our next lesson on geography. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you in part 2.